Whiskers was no ordinary kitten. At just 8 weeks old, he was barely the size of a winter glove, but his heart was bigger than the Himalayas. Born in a laundry basket and raised in a small apartment in Kathmandu, Whiskers had always stared at the distant mountains with unblinking fascination. He didn't dream of mice or yarn like other kittens. He dreamed of snowcaps, avalanches, and glory. His human, Luna, was an amateur mountaineer with more heart than experience. She had failed her last 3 climbs, each time brought down by weather, bad luck, or altitude sickness. But this time was different. This time, she had Whiskers. "You really want to come?" she asked him the night before their journey. The baby cat sat atop her backpack in a custom-made puffer jacket, licking his paw with casual defiance. "I go where the mountain calls," he meowed, his tiny voice sounding like a squeaky toy of destiny. The morning was freezing as they set off from base camp. The snow crunched beneath Luna's boots and the wind howled like a pack of wolves playing the flute. Whiskers was snug in her front carrier, peering out through snow goggles so small they looked like costume jewelry. As they climbed, Whiskers became her co-pilot. He'd tap her shoulder with a paw when her steps faltered, meow sharply when the wind shifted, and occasionally hiss at falling snowflakes he deemed suspicious. "Left foot, Luna, your other left," he shouted once when she almost stepped into a crevasse. Luna just laughed. "Okay, Commander Whiskers." At Camp 2, they faced their first challenge, a rope bridge strung between 2 cliffs, swaying violently in the wind. Luna hesitated. Whiskers did not. He scampered up onto her shoulder, tail stiff like a tightrope walker's balance pole, and meowed sharply. "Trust the paws," he said. They crossed slowly, the rope creaking and groaning, but Whiskers kept a steady rhythm by purring into Luna's ear. On the other side, she collapsed into the snow, gasping. "You're either a tiny genius," she said, "or completely insane." "I am both," Whiskers replied, striking a noble pose atop her chest. The next few days were grueling. The cold gnawed at their bones, and the thin air made every breath feel like sipping through a straw. Luna began to struggle, her energy fading. On the 3rd morning above 7,000 meters, she collapsed beside a ridge, trembling. Whiskers crawled out of the carrier and placed a paw on her cheek. "Luna," he whispered, "you've carried me this far. Let me carry the spirit now." Luna blinked at him, dazed. "You're a cat." "I'm your cat." Somehow that was enough. With renewed resolve, they pushed onward. Whiskers rode a wild mountain goat at one point to scout the trail, returning with a meowing report and a tuft of goat hair stuck in his collar. They camped under stars so close they looked like snowflakes, Luna singing lullabies while Whiskers kneaded the sleeping bag with dreams of triumph. On the 8th day, they entered the death zone, the final stretch to the summit, where the air was so thin even breathing felt like a chore. Luna stumbled. Her hands were shaking. Her lips were blue. Whiskers jumped from her carrier and landed softly in the snow. He turned around, narrowed his eyes, and hissed. "You do not get to quit here," he said. "This is where the legends are born." "I'm not a legend," Luna groaned. "You're my human. That's close enough." And somehow she stood. They climbed for 6 more hours, silence all around except the crunch of snow and the occasional angry meow from Whiskers, who was now riding inside Luna's hood. Finally, as the sun began to rise, painting the sky with streaks of gold and blood orange, they reached the summit. Mount Everest, the top of the world. Luna collapsed to her knees, laughing and crying all at once. Whiskers climbed out, scaling the summit flagpole with a tiny rope harness like a cat-sized mountaineer. From his satchel, he pulled out a flag, white with a cartoon fish and a glittery paw print. He stabbed it into the snow and meowed triumphantly. "I declare this land a flufftopia!" Luna lay in the snow, exhausted, smiling through frostbitten lips. "You did it, little guy." Whiskers turned to her, face noble against the wind. "We did it." Then there was a sound behind them. Whoomp. Crunch. Slosh. Luna sat up slowly. Whiskers spun around, claws out. A Yeti stood a few feet away holding a thermos and 2 mugs. He looked confused and friendly. "You two lost?" the Yeti asked in a deep, slow voice. "You look cold. Want a ride down?" Luna and Whiskers looked at each other, then back at the Yeti. "Do you have cocoa?" Whiskers asked. "With marshmallows," the Yeti replied proudly. 10 minutes later, Luna and Whiskers were zooming down the mountain on a sled made of ice and yak fur, powered by the giggling Yeti. Snow sprayed in every direction, and Whiskers leaned into the wind, howling with joy, his goggles fogged from sheer excitement. "Best day ever!" he meowed into the wind. Epilogue. Back in Kathmandu, Luna and Whiskers became local legends. A photo of Whiskers on the summit flagpole went viral, and mountaineering blogs wrote articles like, "10 times a kitten was braver than you." Whiskers got a medal made of tuna can lids. Luna got altitude sickness and a mild case of frostbite, but neither of them would trade the adventure for anything in the world. Because some stories aren't measured in miles climbed or flags planted, but in purrs shared at 29,000 feet. And in the silent truth that sometimes the smallest paws leave the biggest prints.